Grant, welcome to Adulting with Autism.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Okay, for all my listeners out there new to Grant, tell them who you are.
Well, my name is Grant Harris, and I am many things. Let's see. I start first and foremost. I am a dad, got 3 kids, 4 if you include the dog. I'm a husband, I'm a brother, I have 2 older sisters. I am also a keynote speaker and a human centered performance strategist. I'm a Hall of Fame athlete. I am a person who memorized the flag of every country in the world at one point in time. So I'm lots of things. I'm also a 3-time author. So I am lots of things, but my work revolves around speaking to HR and learning and development and ERG people leaders and managers and helping them to stop misreading and misinterpreting talent by fixing workplace friction. So that's who I am at the core of the work that I do, and we'll talk more about that, but I'm many things. So I appreciate the opportunity.
So, being a late diagnosed autistic adult, which I mean, you did memorize all the flags of the every country in the world. That's very, very telling. How did those stories kind of piece together in your head?
So I was late recognized, late diagnosed for most of my life. I was unaware of my autistic traits, and I was diagnosed about a handful of years ago, maybe 5 years ago now. So, but before that, I always knew that I was an introvert. So, but I only started speaking about being an introvert like last year, although I was aware of my entire adult life. So that coin kind of flipped. I was unaware of some things, I was aware of other things. That plays out in how people have read me and misjudged or misunderstood or misinterpreted my talent and how I show up, not only in the workplace, but in life. So I've been there and I know what that feels like. And which is why I help other people, not just from a neurodiversity perspective, because neurodiversity impacts us all, uh, whether we know it or not. So that's kind of how that dynamic has played out. I was unaware of many things and aware of others. And then now I am fully aware of myself and how I show up. And I try to interpret that in conversations like these.
So, I know a lot of my listeners feel like their differences are liabilities in their jobs. What do you want them to hear right away about the value of a neurodistinct brain?
So differences in and of themselves are not liabilities. When someone is able to sell something over the phone and the other person can't, they don't look at that as a liability. They look at it as, oh, great, I have this great salesperson that can smile and dial. That's the difference. And maybe that other person doesn't sell so great on the phone, but they sell great on the floor. So differences in and of themselves are not liabilities. Liability is a lie, in my opinion. Liability is constructed by the people or the systems or the friction that's in place that says this is how you should show up and how you should operate. And if you don't, then somehow you are a liability. Instead of looking at, okay, well, this is how we think you should show up, but maybe our thought is a little bit off, or maybe we need to expand our horizon. Maybe we need to expand the scope versus narrowing that scope. So that's my answer to that in terms of how I look at liability and how I teach and preach that in the corners of the workplace globe that you can find me.
So, what kind of design problems hit neurodivergent folks hardest? Like, is it meetings, the performance reviews, which I always failed, communication norms?
Well, every neurodivergent person is different. I happen to be autistic, so you meet one autistic person, you meet one autistic person. There are commonalities and traits. One of the biggest that I see in the corporate space is in meeting norms or meeting abnorms, depending on how you look at it. So, not having an agenda, not knowing why people are showing up, not knowing who should be there, knowing who's actually going to be there. That's a big deal. A lot of people talk about, well, I don't know who's supposed to be in this meeting, but knowing who is in the meeting is also sometimes debilitating because of authority structures and power dynamics. So having knowledge is just as discombobulating sometimes as not having knowledge. Camera, being on camera all the time, every day, all day is debilitating. It's not necessary. It is only necessary for people who deem it so because they, in their particular makeup and setup, have a preference for seeing people's faces. I understand that. We should all try to meet each other halfway, but we should not put other people at a detriment in terms of how they show up and perform for the sake of the person or the people in power. So meetings are a big bugaboo for lots of neurodivergent people. Introverts, who some of us are introverted as well, speaking up. The loudest person in the room isn't always the smartest, isn't always the best, doesn't always perform the best just because they speak first, or just because they speak longest, or just because they speak the loudest. So I know that's difficult for a lot of my neurodivergent peers, meeting norms. Yeah.
So, what's a small change that could help neurodistinct employees without them asking them to be less of themselves?
So the way that I have gone about that is expanding language. No one should be forced to disclose. No one has to disclose. It's one, it's illegal. And two, you don't need to put yourself in that position. So then the question is, well, how do I talk about being neurodivergent? If you're aware, how do I talk about the way that I show up? And the way that I've done that is use phrases like the way my brain works, the way I operate, how I show up, my traits, these types of things and these types of words and phrases anyone and everyone can use to describe themselves, but they don't have to say, "Oh, I'm autistic," or "I'm ADHD," or "I'm bipolar." They don't have to name that thing unless they choose to. So that's the way that I've gone about it. And other people pick up on that and have started using those phrases too. And I think we should all use those phrases in those ways because all of us have a brain and just some of those brains operate differently.
So, what does true neural inclusion look like at every level, just not in leadership?
True neural inclusion, what does it look like? It's not just what it looks like because some people can't see. So it's what it sounds like. It's what it feels like. It's what it smells like. It encompasses all of the senses. So understand what you mean in theory. What does it look like? But you will see and hear and recognize anyone and everyone in the way that they show up. You recognize anyone and everyone in the way that they show up. And you can't always see that. And when you do see it or hear it or feel it, or when someone tells you, then you will have acceptance and understanding versus the opposite. So that's what it would look like for me. And I can't tell you the exact picture because that picture would look different in every office or every meeting. It would look different. That's the way it's supposed to look. It's not supposed to be one way to be neuro-inclusive. It's all the ways, depending on the organization and the people within it.
So, how do you weave neurodiversity into DEI conversations that default often to like race or gender only?
So I've written 3 books, and the premise of those books were about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I'm a fan. But my work today and the conversations that I have is not about generic DEI because the concept and the conversation is much larger and much deeper than just that acronym has come to be. So the way that I go about having that conversation is similar to the ways that I mentioned earlier from an individual perspective, but from an institutional and an agency perspective. It's all about where the friction lies and how we identify the friction and the processes that don't allow talent to show up the way that it could. So we talked about meeting norms before. All of that is friction. Not knowing or knowing is friction. Who's in the meeting? What are we talking about? This could have probably been an email. Why are we here for an hour and it could have been half an hour? All of that is friction. So how do we identify that in the process versus blaming the person or blaming the people? These people aren't doing it right. These people are disengaged, or they're probably not disengaged. They're probably disillusioned, which is completely different. They're disillusioned because they are not their performance and the way that they perform is being denigrated or degraded in any shape or form. So that's the way that I see that conversation. It's not about we're doing DEI and DEI is some kind of outcome. That's not what it's about. It's about the friction of the processes and how we fix processes and not people, and how people in charge and authority take accountability for not blaming people and positioning them to perform at their best.
So, for an autistic 26-year-old who's going into entry level, what are signs that their workplace is genuinely neuro-inclusive versus red flags and its compliance theater?
Mm. Well, there are technical ways to see that, like hard ways to see that, and there are softer ways that that would show up. So, one, you're going to see it in the marketing, you're going to see it in the recruiting. They're going to talk about it. They mention it in writing in black and white. They talk about the way different brains work, or they mention neurodiversity specifically, or they talk about those things in those ways. So, you should see that in the recruiting process, in the onboarding process, these types of things. If not, if you don't see those things, you will hear ableist language, able-bodied, these kind of things, quote unquote able-bodied. So you'll see and hear ableist language that puts the norm on a pedestal, and the norm is whoever chooses to be in power for that particular organization or authority of that particular organization. So you'll see those things amplified, and that's before you even hit the door. And then when you hit the door, you can see, well, what's the lighting like? What's the seating like? What's the food like? Is there food, or are there snacks offered? These types of things you'll be able to see immediately in your first week, if not your first day. Now, that's if you're physically in an office, which many of us are not these days. So remote, what does that look like? Again, are you basically forced to be on camera all day, all the time? Or do you have to be at your seat, at your desk? Ergonomically, that doesn't work for a lot of us, a lot of people, period, neurodivergent or not. So these types of things you'll be able to see very quickly in the environment, and they should not be taken as quote unquote normal. They should all be questioned. Now, some things can be questioned softer or harder than others, but as a 26-year-old entry level worker, you should not just take whatever is given to you and accept it as is. Always be thinking of, how could this be better? How could this be more effective? How could this be more efficient? And that will make you, number one, more valuable to your organization. And two, that will help you help others that may be thinking or feeling the same way.
Another topic you speak on is maximizing manhood as a Black neurodivergent professional, which is still very new in the workspace for whatever reason. What does that phrase mean to you?
Well, first and foremost, neurodiversity, and especially Black people, neurodivergent Black people, are not new, not novel, not niche. We have been in the workforce since the workforce was created. We helped create the workforce. So when you say new, I know what you mean by that. It's a new topic for some people. It's new to some people. And looking at just becoming who I have been over the last few years and coming to a new understanding of myself, in the conversations and the spaces and places that I've been in, don't see a lot of people that look like me. Don't see a lot of people that identify as a Black heterosexual male and also neurodivergent. Now, if you identify as any other way, that's fine, all well and good. But I don't see a lot of folks who identify like me. So that's a bit isolating for a lot of people, and especially high levels of corporate America. So that's why I have those conversations and participate in those groups, to give space and place and agency to other men who look like me, but may not have the same access or the same voice, or they have a different access and a different voice that may be larger than mine. But I want to be a part of that as well. So it's all about community from that perspective.
So, for anyone listening out there that is Black, autistic, or ADHD, what patterns do you see around corporate or any workplace that structures us to overperform, mask, or never show vulnerability?
Yeah, well, that is a loaded question. I actually had a LinkedIn Live with one of my colleagues talking about masking. So there's many different layers to that, and I like to call myself an onion without the smell because I'm made up of different layers. And the question you ask is multiple layers. So the way black men or black people show up is very different than our counterparts, whether they have brown skin or not. We have a different dynamic with authority and power in this country, especially from our white brethren, whether we are conscious of it or not. There's always a subconscious thread there. So black men and women are seen as aggressive, seen as angry, seen as potentially violent, especially autistic young boys that can't, not because they don't want to, but can't express their feelings or emotions in a way that makes other people feel safe all the time. Again, not because they don't want to, but because they can't. Or how black women show up because of all the ways that they are mistreated in life in general and in the workplace specifically, and the ways that they have to show up and be better all the time. No matter what it is, they got to be better than the next person. So that is debilitating, and hiding or masking those traits that we as black people think will make us look even worse, whether it be tics, whether it be how we hold our face. I don't smile that often. Black women, black people get lots of flack for not being as happy and go lucky as they could or should be when someone else thinks they should be. So managing those things is tiring. Managing your face in the meeting, managing your face at the performance review when you know that you have accomplished so much and so much above someone else, but that's not the conversation. The conversation is, oh, you're too loud, or oh, you don't speak up enough, or oh, when you do speak up, you're too direct. That's not the feedback. That's not positive, not about positive or negative. That's not effective and efficient feedback, because it's based on personality traits that the other person believes happens to be negative, versus talking about the performance. And that's where friction comes in again. So that's a layered question about how it shows up for black folks, men and women. And I don't speak for all black people. I speak for myself. I speak for the people that I know. But that's what also research and history tells us and shows us.
You've developed tools and frameworks like the human score assessment and race to help organizations move beyond like compliance. What is compliance to community?
So it's two things. It's an idea and it's an act. An idea of compliance is about we, not me. We are more important. The whole is more important than the individual. The individual makes up the whole. So, and compliance is the floor. That's the bare minimum. You do it because you have to, not necessarily because you want to or because you think you should, because it's mandated. But community is the ceiling. And how do we get to community? Is being self-aware, self-reflective, and then taking the action to put that awareness and apply it in daily conversation, daily communication, daily work, showing up and doing those things that you say, and I say you collectively, that people say that they want or that they need from others. So it's not just a theory. It starts there. It's about we, not me, but it's also an act. And doing some of the things that we've been discussing along the way is how you can take action to build community and not be just accepting of compliance.
So you emphasize distinct and not deficient. What are like practical ways neurodivergent workers can start honoring their distinctiveness instead of like hiding it?
Talk about it. Everybody loves to talk. You talk at the water cooler. Some people in Slack, you got gossip channels. Talk about it. Bring it up. Say something about it. Write it down. So if nobody talks about it and it's all hush hush in the bathroom somewhere, like that doesn't amplify the message. So this is not, I am not good at math. This is not rocket science. That doesn't make it easy. I'm not saying it is, but it's simple. Just because something is easy doesn't always make it simple, but it is simple. Talk about it. Have a conversation. Now, do you go talk about it to the person who stands you the most harm? No. You go talk about it to a person or the people that you feel safe with. But you start there, talking about it and having a conversation. And then you shut up and you listen to other people. You listen to other people's thoughts, feelings. You go ask them what they're seeing, what they're hearing. And that's how you start to build community, because one, you're talking about it, but also you're listening. And there's a conversation and a fluency that will be built within that.
What are a few phrases that you can talk to managers about your brain style without it sounding like a confession or an apology for being who you are?
Yeah, I go back to some of the things that I mentioned earlier. The way my brain works, how I show up, how I operate, how I'm wired, the time I work best. I do best when I do my best. I do my best work when I do my best work at 8 o'clock in the morning. I do my best work at 8 o'clock at night. My energy is best here. All of those things are ways to talk about your particular type of neurodivergence, if you are aware of your type of neurodivergence, without saying and without raising your hand and without throwing yourself under the bus of showing up. And that gives you agency to talk about who you are and how you show up. So all of those are ways that I have used in the past and I still use today, because I don't disclose to everyone and anyone. But those are simple and I believe easy. But again, easy is relative, but they are effective and they are efficient in talking about yourself without having to disclose.
How can early career professionals build their own personal board of advisors or like support network that makes, that they feel safe with?
Both ways, similar to what I mentioned before. So mentorship is a two-way street, in my opinion, with the mentors that I've had in life, and there haven't been many, but it's a two-way street. So if you're looking for someone to mentor you, be a mentor. It's counterintuitive, but if you are looking for someone to give you advice, be someone who gives advice. And I don't want your listeners to take this and say, "Oh, Grant told me I go tell people whatever." Nope, didn't say that. I am saying, like, be the person that you are looking for. So if you want a mentor, the best way to actually find one is to be a mentor to somebody else. If you want someone to listen to you, the best way to find that person or to receive that is to listen to someone else. So it sounds counterintuitive, but it will do two things. One, it'll put you in a position to help someone else, which is always good. And two, it'll put you in a position of so you could put yourself in the shoes of that person that you are looking for, to say, oh, well, I've tried this. This is not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a person that does it this kind of way. But the only way that I am aware of, the only way to accomplish that is through experience and trial and error in doing it, versus just, I think I want this person, and searching for this person all the time and keep searching and not finding that unicorn, that needle in the haystack, and then throw your hands up in the air and say, oh, I can't find that person, so I'm never going to have a mentor. No. While you're looking for that person, be a mentor to somebody else. So yeah, counterintuitive.
So, with working with organizations on culture and performance, what have you learned about how high pressure systems quietly burn out neurodivergent talent?
One, I've learned that it ain't always quiet. So you see all the time, I see all the time, high performers that get the job done quickly or get the job done at the last minute, or have high capacity to do a lot of things and wear lots of hats. Those are the people that get taken advantage of, quietly and not so quietly. And they say, oh, April can do it. Give it to her last minute. She always gets it done. April can do it. Give her that fifth project. She likes having her plate full. April can do it because, last time I asked her, she got it done in half the time than the whole rest of the team. So let's look at the good part about that. April probably can do all those things. She could probably do the work in half the time and twice as good. She could probably do it at the last minute and get it done. And she could probably do those things. But that doesn't mean that April becomes the go-to for that type of work, because that is how April gets burned out. And then once burnout comes, you get left out because you stop raising your hand or you stop being available. Not because you don't want to. Sometimes you don't want to, but sometimes you just can't. Physically, you can't. And then that leads to disengagement. And then all of a sudden, 3-6 months down the road, April is not showing up at the deadline. April is not doing 5 projects. She's only working on 2. And then her manager is asking, well, what's the difference? Oh, well, last year, April, you did all this. Why are you slowing down? Why are you not producing? Why are you not performing? Well, that's because you put too much on me before. So these types of things are where the friction shows up, and where the people who are talented, who happen to be neurodivergent, get taken advantage of, and ultimately get burned out, left out, or pushed out.
So, what boundaries have you personally had to put in place while doing intense advocacy and consulting work?
I don't call my, this is not answering your question. I don't call myself an advocate. There are many advocates out there. I just have a voice and I use it. But that's a different story. In terms of boundary settings, again, starting with the positive up front. This is how I show up, and kind of setting that lane. I do my best work in the morning. Okay, you're planting the seed that don't give me work at the last hour of the day. You're planting that seed. So be productive, or not productive, be forthcoming. Mention those things first in meetings with supervisors, not just supervisors, but also your team around you. Also, if you want to take a kind of a guerrilla tactic, in your email, you can set all kind of messages that say, oh, out of office reminders, these kind of things, right? You can say in your email message, hey, I only check email at certain times a day. I batch my email. I check email 3 times a day: morning, mid-morning, late afternoon. So I'm not just sitting at my computer, and I've been doing this for many years, checking or looking at my inbox all day, because that is exhausting. And I know people who do it. So you can put in your email, oh, I check email at these times of day, this time of day, and I'll be sure to get back to you within this amount of time. That will train the people around you that you're not going to just respond to their email as soon as they send you one in 2 minutes. So that's an example of setting boundaries. And you can do that in email, and you can do that in other ways as well. But boundaries are important. So first and foremost, plant the seeds early and often that this is how I am, this is how I work, this is how I do my best performance. And then use some of those guerrilla tactics along the way to help train the people around you.
For the neurodivergent adults who feel responsible for fixing their workplace, what advice would you give them about balancing impact with self-preservation?
You're not. That's my advice. You are not responsible for fixing your workplace unless you are the CEO, unless you are the director of such and such and such. Then yeah, you have that responsibility. But anybody beneath that, you are not responsible, whether you feel like it or not. If you are an everyday employee showing up to work, an individual contributor, it's not your responsibility. Now, again, I want to quantify for your listeners. That does not mean that you don't attempt to make the place around you better. That does not mean you sit around and be like, oh, I don't have to do nothing because Grant said it ain't my responsibility. That's not what I said. What I said was, it is not your responsibility to fix it. It is your responsibility to be part of the solution. It is your responsibility to speak up and speak out. It is your responsibility to do the best that you can with the resources that you have been given, and then try to do that with your counterpart to your left and to your right. But it is the responsibility of those in charge, people managers, people leaders. It is their responsibility to fix the friction. And you start fixing the friction by not blaming the people all the time. Look at the process, then look at your people.
So if a listener is stuck in a workplace that doesn't fit, what's a practical step you'd suggest that they can take to advocate, adjust, or plan a new move?
Small step, one small step for mankind. So the question is, have you spoken to your direct supervisor? Have you said something to your direct supervisor? And the assumption here is that the people have gone through these steps and that they are at their somehow wit's end. But I don't want to assume, because a lot of people don't do that. They say, oh, this isn't a fit for me, but they never give the people around them the opportunity to make it a fit for them. So have that conversation and say, this is what I need. And in the way that's best for you. It could be through email. It could be a phone call. It doesn't have to be face to face. You don't have to knock on your boss's door and sit down across the desk. All of that is a power dynamic. So, but speak up and speak out. Say, this is what I need. I need help. I need this. This is what's been happening over X amount of time. And this is the result that's been happening. And this result doesn't work for me for whatever reason. It would be great if we could do X versus Y. Again, simple formulas, not always easy to do, but the simpler the formula, the easier it is to break it apart and do one thing at a time. So I say start there. That's very foundational. Speak up and speak out to the person that actually has authority to do something about it. A lot of us, people in general, and then neurodivergent people, will talk to anybody and everybody about the problem, and those people don't have the authority or the power to fix it. Well, that's okay if you want to vent, but if you want the problem to be fixed, you have to go to the person or the people that actually have the resources, time, energy, money in order to fix that problem. And then say, this is a problem for me. Let's fix it together. Yeah.
What's one belief about work and worth that you hope my audience lets go of after hearing this conversation?
Your job is just that, a job. It is not who you are. It is not what you are. It is not a reflection on the person that you were, that you are now, or that you will be in the future. Your job is something that pays you to do a thing and to do that thing well over a period of time. So I understand, especially men, and especially Black men, we're very tied to what we do and how we do it. I'm tied to what I do and how I do it as an entrepreneur. I'm tied to that. It's part of who I am. But the corporate jobs that I've had over the years, and I've been a CEO from an entrepreneurial perspective, but I've never been a CEO of an organization leading hundreds of thousands of people. And that is a whole different ego trip. I have not experienced that. But for most of the people that are not that and don't have that experience, your job is just a job. It's not open heart unless you're doing open heart surgery. Unless you're doing open heart surgery, or unless you are a rocket scientist, like it's not that difficult. So leave the ego at home, or excuse me, at the door, because it's already hard enough with all the other things in life and with all the other things in your head. So think less about the job and think more about your impact on that job, whether you are the janitor or the CEO. Think less about the job title and more about the impact that you have to create a tidal wave within that organization.
Okay, my final question for you is, where can people find you, your consulting, your books, talks, channels, if they want to learn more about you or share the conversation?
Yep. I am on 2 social media platforms. LinkedIn, number 1, all day, every day. Grant Harris, the number 5. And number 2, YouTube. You can see lots of videos, conversations like these on my YouTube channel. And my website is compliance to community, all words, compliance2community.com. But LinkedIn is the best place to find me in real time. Happy to have conversations. You can DM me and I will always respond. But yeah, LinkedIn is the way to go.
Grant, thank you so much for coming to my podcast.
Awesome. Thank you, April.